Good? Alright. Okay, guys. Sorry. It's okay. It's your learning, not mine. No. NLP. What we're going to do is I'm going to explain my favorite framework for understanding it. Has anyone done an NLP practitioner training? Okay. It's good. If you're going to do it, it's not bad. What happens is it's extremely detailed, confusing. They pack a load of stuff into it, and at the end of it, you come away going, "Wow, I learned a lot," and you never use any of it. That's everyone's experience. So I have more than many people come to this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a very condensed understanding of what it is, so you can conceptually understand it. And then we're going to go to two distinct tools that I really like and are really useful, and they have a lot of the features of NLP built into it. And that way, you're just going to have a framework, practice it, and also be aware that none of this is set in stone, and everything I said before is also true. That if you're following a certain structure, but intuitively feel like, oh, this is an interesting thing, I would like to go here with this person, then go there with that person. This is just a structured understanding. Now, my favorite way of understanding NLP would be this. Okay, this. Give me a name. Somebody. Give me somebody. Somebody you know.
Emily.
Emily. Where's she from?
Australia.
Australia. Okay. Is Emily from Australia? And give me a name of somebody very different from Emily from Australia.
May.
May. Okay.
June.
May. Okay. Where's May from China?
Yes.
Okay. May from China. Okay. They're both vaguely happy right now. Okay. Now, May from China and Emily go for a walk outside to get coffee. Okay. And it's a sunny day, and they're both looking at the exact same scenario, and a big wind comes along. That phone line off. And May from China goes, "Ah! The wind is here! Run!" and runs away. And Emily looks at the same thing and goes, "Oh, I like the wind, it's very refreshing, how beautiful it is." Okay? They're both observing the same phenomenon. Right? They're both looking at the same phenomenon, and yet the reactions are very different. Why is that?
Childhood association.
Childhood associations, any other reasons?
What they were told by their mom.
What they're told by their mom, memories, cultural values, all these things, right? So, in NLP, and it's very true, we always forget it, reality is subjective, right? And NLP is the study of the structure of subjective reality. And I'm going to show you a model which is called the NLP communication model, which explains this phenomenon and also shows you where are the different ways that you can interrupt or work with somebody in order to change how they perceive reality, in order to change how they react to reality, in order to affect change in general. So, let's take Emily. Emily is looking out at reality, okay? How does Emily perceive reality? How does reality arrive to Emily?
Senses.
Through her senses, right? Sight, sound, taste, bing, bang, boom. Okay? And then it comes from the outside here. This is the external reality. And it arrives through her eyes, her ears, her kinesthetic, her all these different senses. Okay? And here now, in NLP we say she filters. She's going to filter reality through different filters fundamentally. What kind of filters? We touched on some, right? Like her memories. Okay? So depending on her memories, it'll be different. Her values. Okay? What else do you filter reality through?
Knowledge.
The knowledge that you've acquired. Good. Her experience. Okay? And importantly, her belief system. Right? Depending what you believe. Okay, so some people believe that, and by the way, Italians are also scared of big wind. Colpo di vento, just so you know, not just Chinese beliefs. So this will lead to what we call in NLP an internal representation. Now, your internal representation is fundamentally a subjective movie that you have going on in your head, that your version of events. Okay, and depending on what this movie is like, if it's a horror movie because you see the big wind coming, or if it's like a romantic comedy because the wind is jostling your hair, this will directly impact your state. So in this case, May's story is, "Oh my God, I'm scared, this is terrible, the wind is coming, let's run." What kind of state will May have with them? Like an emotional state, or how would she be? Panic, scared, anxious, all those things, right? And because of that, how will May's physiology manifest? What physiologically, what would she be feeling? Shortness of breath, the heart will start to go, she might have cortisol, adrenaline, she might be a bit worried, etc., etc., okay? So there's a physiological impact. Now, importantly, and I come back to this again and again and again, everything is interrelated and there are feedback loops. So, May starts to, her chest starts to go like this, adrenaline starts to go, she starts to shake a little bit. This actually can feed back into her state, right? Once she ties in, she goes, oh my God, actually, I'm anxious. I'm anxious. I'm really anxious, and this makes her more anxious, okay? And because of the state is more anxiety, this starts to impact her internal representation, right? So this loop is happening now, that her anxiety leads to more anxiety, leads to more anxiety, and you can see how the CO2 tolerance here comes into this, right? That she gets scared by something, it makes her anxious, her anxiousness leads to shallow breathing, her shallow breathing leads to a lowering CO2, it makes the oxygen less, this makes her more anxious, this makes her more, and this makes the story that she's saying, oh my God, this wind is terrible, it's terrible, it's terrible, and this loop continues, okay? And because of this, we have some sort of action or behavior, right? May does something, she screams, she starts to scratch herself, she says something unfair to her husband, whatever, she goes, well, okay? And this obviously then feeds back into this reality again. Whatever she says, like she goes to, so that formula, and she says, we should go, and her husband, we should go, and her husband goes, why are you being like this? And she perceives this again, and the whole thing goes again and again and again, okay? Now, in NLP, it is the structure, it's a study of the structure of subjective reality. And so importantly, and distinctly from other interventions, it studies the structure and allows us and has a system of tools, specific tools, to intercede in almost any of these areas. How do we change your value system? How do we change your beliefs? How can we impact your internal representation? How can we alter your state? How do we work with physiology? To a lesser degree physiology, but it's still there. It's still got that kind of breath, this kind of stuff, okay? And also how we're actually perceiving reality. We call it the submodality, so the characteristics of reality, you know? When you're looking at something, the way you perceive that thing, you can also impact these things and these things and these things. It's a beautiful model.
Can we just cut the arrows at all? The ones, the vertical ones, can you just...
Which
hold
one?
them?
These guys?
Yeah, can you just...
Well, how would you, like, no. Maybe
No.
both again.
You have to go back to those values, blah, blah, blah.
Ah, well, look, you can intercede here, guys. I mean, you can intercede in any of these areas, but these are always going to be interrelated. Like, because, and this is the point, what we were talking about this earlier, there's a couple of really important points. One, what we've done in kind of Western philosophy is separate the mind and the body, right? This is a big problem. For a variety of reasons, we're hyper-rationalized. We don't pay attention to these too much. We don't pay attention to the physical world. We live up in our heads. Secondly, and I just think this is an important point to make, humans have two fundamental problems which make us basically pretty miserable. One is the separation of mind and body, which there's a history behind that we won't get into. And two, we have options. So most animals, and we are animals, have a dominant strategy for when shit goes wrong, right? If you're a deer and a lion comes to you, you say, fuck it, I'm running. It's always running. It's never fighting. It's always running. If you're a bear, it's always fighting, right? It's just like something happens, you have a natural impulse to just do whatever you need to fucking do. Humans have three different options, and these different options actually fuck us up because we're charged up. What am I doing? I don't know. I'm not fighting, I'm gonna run. I'm just gonna lie and pretend to be dead. This is one of the reasons why we charge up energy gets stuck in our body, because we have to choose, and sometimes we don't actually release that energy effectively. A lot of trauma work is actually helping someone to process this energy that got stuck inside your body. Secondly, and also very importantly, we have two systems for dealing with things. We have our rational frontal cortex, and we have our emotional world. And again, this creates this kind of dichotomy for us, because we feel something, but then we interpret it, we don't know which system to allow us to make the decision to use. And so we often, as organisms, get stuck between fighting and fleeing, get stuck in thinking about it and feeling it, and that's where you find a lot of people are. I think your example of what you were with is a great example of that, you know? It's like you've got this unreleased energy, you're kind of stuck between these two places, you don't know what to do with it, and you can't get out of it. And so, and this is why I come back to this, why I'm fucking happy as fuck just to fucking blow shit up, is because in most cases, the problem is just stuckness for me. This is the problem when people are stuck somewhere between the rational mind and emotion, not allowing to process their emotions, they're not sure whether they should run or scream or shout, they're trying to control it, and it goes nowhere, and there's no way of getting out of it. And so a lot of the transformational breathwork is that boom. Okay? Now after the boom, once you release them, this is the way I do it again, then you can wave all this other stuff. So if I were to try and to work with you without you releasing, without that energetic boom, it would be fucking annoying as fuck. You can imagine, right? But you probably that's exactly what you're happening. You go and have some talk therapy and you do this, you go, well, man, fuck, I can't. That's not what I need right now. I know these things, I fucking understand them. Yeah, let's talk about that shit. But now if I was to work with you, it'd be like there's much more fluidity, there's much more movement, there's much more intrigue and curiosity and energy to actually make the step forward. Because ultimately what we're doing with this model is to help this person move towards a meaningful goal. Right? We're intervening here to make them feel resourceful enough, feel and think resourceful enough for them to take meaningful action towards a goal. And when you help someone take meaningful action towards a goal, whatever the fuck was going on with them before doesn't really matter so much because now they have meaning and they're moving towards it and they have momentum. And most times that will solve half of your problems. Most depressed people are people who are stuck in some sort of thing and they're obsessing about themselves because they can't get out of it. And once you release them from this and you give them something meaningful to do, that for me, that's going to work with 90% of the people who can do that, right? And NLP provides a lot of tools. In the manual, someone printed out the manual here? John, thank you. This manual has taken me a long time to do it. I think 2 years writing this thing to make it as practical as possible. And everything in it has a particular tool with a particular purpose, and in the back has scripts that you can literally just fucking read out to people. So the tools are right there. It's like, okay, how do I identify a limiting belief? Oh, there it is. Okay, here I can just read this thing out, more or less, add my bits, and that would be meaningful for that person. So I really recommend you make good use of that. We don't have time to cover a lot of it, but it's really, and it goes through NLP. We're going to cover some of it now. So, questions about this, guys? It's a lot of information in that, but I think that's a pretty concise explanation of it. Yeah? Good? Okay. So now I'm going to show you I'm going to show you one of my favorite tools. We are going to practice it, and we're going to try it. Now, one of the reasons why I was such a raging alcoholic was because I could never understand why everybody was having such crappy conversations and talking about shit that didn't mean, and lying, and just not lying, but like talking about something that didn't matter. So, oh my god, guys, come on. And I'd read my book, and I'd be, oh my god, what great conversations are happening here. And then I'd meet someone, and they'd be talking about the TV series they watched, or whatever it is, and they'd be like, there's so much more interesting things we'd be talking about. And I spent a lot of time drinking. And when I stopped drinking, I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to interact with people in meaningful ways and to have a structure for that. And the structure is not my structure, but the way I apply it is kind of my structure. So there's a model called Dill's Logical Levels. And Dill's Logical Levels is a model for affecting change in a person. Okay? So change happens at various levels. If you can affect change at the highest level, you will have the most change. So, first level is environment. If you change someone's environment, that will change him. I'll take the example of an alcoholic, right? If you change like an alcoholic out of a bar, out of a pub, thank you very much. Oh, yeah, I know it's bad. Okay, environment. Thank you. Let's go again. Oh yeah, so we'll give me an example of a problem. Someone give me an example of a problem you might have. Like a problem with a client, you're working with clients, what's a classic problem they have? Anything. Yeah. Depressed, they're anxious, okay. So, I'm working with someone who's anxious. Okay? And they come to me and they go, James, I'm anxious as fuck. And I go, okay. Where do you feel most anxious? Right? Now, what are the situations in which you get anxious? Environment, right? This question is where? Where might you feel anxious, guys?
Work.
Work. So I say, stop going to work. No anxiety anymore. Right? Ta-da! Result, okay? So superficially, you can resolve their anxiety in some ways by just stopping them going to the place where they feel most anxious. Then, £1 million, please. I've solved all your problem. Yeah. They say, okay, that's not great. What are you doing when you feel most anxious? Don't say working. Give me something specific. Like,
Exercising.
sorry? Thinking, exercising.
Getting interrupted.
Getting interrupted, but something they're actually doing. When do you feel this anxiety? What's actually happening? What are the activities you do that make you anxious?
Multitasking.
Multitasking in work, okay, so we'll say the behavior, right? Behavior and say, hey, how about you just stop doing this multitasking? Great, it's whenever they're overwhelmed. Oh yeah, actually, because when I get overwhelmed, then, I sometimes feel anxious, so if I just stop doing that, that might be useful for me and I feel less anxious, okay? Or maybe they're having conversations with particular people. Certain types of conversations with particular people are making them anxious. And say, hey, just stop having those fucking conversations. Right? Oh, okay. Now I'm not so anxious because I'm not engaging in the type of behaviours which bring me anxiety. And I'm not going to the places where people are making me feel anxious. Okay. Still quite superficial, but we're getting somewhere. Yeah. Okay. Now we get to how, okay? And this is more where we're getting to sort of the breathwork things. Is there any sort of a skill that I could teach you that would reduce your anxiety, right? When you're engaging in these behaviors, when you go into these places? What kind of skill could I teach you?
Breathing.
Right, so I give them a 4x4 breathwork. Anything we've been looking at here, I teach them how to shake, systematic breathing, all this kind of stuff. And actually, you know what? That works now. Before I go to work, I do some grounding breathing. I go outside and do some stretching. I do some yoga. Go for a walk. Okay, so now they've learned how to deal with their anxiety. This changes what they do. They do their behavior is more focused and they're different in the environment. So you can see that when you change the higher levels, this ripples down into the lower levels. Right? Now, you can go. Ooh, yeah. Ooh. Okay. Now we're getting somewhere. We're getting a little bit deeper. Okay. Values, beliefs. And you're saying, okay, but explain to me where do you get anxious? I get anxious when I'm talking to my boss. Okay. Okay. You get anxious when you're talking to the boss. Now, what is the thought behind this when you're talking? What is the underlying feeling or vibe or reason or belief you have about the world? Because actually, objectively, that's just a person. I'm just talking to another organism in a space. The thing that's causing this anxiety is some sort of underlying belief I have about this interaction, about how it's going to impact my well-being, my capacity to survive and thrive in the long run, right? So, what kind of belief might somebody have that might be making them anxious when they're having a conversation with their boss? Power. We're going more specifically.
I'm going to be misunderstood.
Yeah, I believe that I don't have the capacity to express myself clearly, or that I need to be submissive to the person in front of me, or conflict is bad, or I don't have the capacity to thrive outside of this box. If I get fired, my wife will leave me. Millions of different underlying beliefs, right? About your value, about your worth, about who you are, about your capacity to act in the world, about what the world is, all these different beliefs. And so you can work on what we would call limiting beliefs, which are beliefs which are holding you back from achieving your potential. And in NLP, there's a variety of ways of identifying these limiting beliefs, which I guess I'll do right now, because I think this is quite useful. Limiting beliefs, beliefs that are holding you back from moving forward. How you identify them. One is modal verbs. And this will start to drive you crazy. Should, must, can, can't. Oh, you should do this. Okay, what would happen if I didn't do that? Oh, you must do this. China's great for this. You must do this. Germany's also like this. You must do that. I must. Now, what would happen if I didn't do that? Right? Or you should. When I hear shoulds, I go, no, really shoulds. Should we do this? Should that? You could do that. You know, you can do that, but should is different. Modals, like must, can, have to. This is an indication. Why is it an indication of limiting belief? Because it's implying that there's some sort of value system external to you which is deciding what is the optimum course of action. Right? When you hear this, all the time I go, oh, okay, what would happen if you didn't do that? I have to go to work tomorrow. Well, you have to go to work tomorrow. And if you didn't go to work, well, you get fired. And what happened then? And then, and then. You lead them down these alternate versions. And these are the key words. Generalizations is another example of a limiting belief. And you will notice, guys, if you were, once you see this, that I've trained myself as much as possible to not do this. I don't say it must, should, do. I leave it always, try to leave it open. I still make mistakes. I don't say always, or you always have to do this when you go out in person, right? I don't say everyone, always, everyone, all the time, everywhere. You catch me saying it sometimes, but a lot less. So when you ask me questions, I don't say this is the way you have to do it. You have to do it like this, and you must do this. And everybody reacts like that. No. So when someone says generalizations, for example, everyone's always treating me badly. Oh, your job then is everyone is always treating. There's nobody who treats you well. Oh, I've always been stupid. Oh, there's no point in your life when you actually excelled, right? Everywhere I go, there's never been a place you felt safe. And again, you're breaking down these, like kindly and nicely, just leading them to reflect on that. And just showing it back to them. Another one is, and I'll probably leave it here because we could go over this all, emotional reactions or being stuck, right? So when somebody pushes back too much, so you all have a friend, we all have friends, presumably one or two, who you feel is underutilizing their potential or has the opportunity to do something really cool and they just won't do it. Whether it's to become the take up the job, lead the husband, run the thing, whatever the thing is, they just don't. And it's so clear to you and it's so clear to all your friends, and you all sit around talking, why does fucking Kevin just do this thing? He's so smart and he's so emotionally adept at this thing. It's a clear fucking thing to do. And when you ask Kevin, what's Kevin do? You don't understand what I have to do. You don't think it's so easy. It's not that easy. You're like, oh, what the heck? He has developed this emotional rejection of this as his defense mechanism, and he pushes back against everybody. Okay? The second one is just a general feeling of stuck and not able to move forward with things. I'm just stuck. I can't hear here. There's some belief about yourself, about the world, about your value, about your capacity to bring value to the world, which is holding you back. Okay? These are limiting beliefs. And you can just conversationally pick them out with people all the time. After a while, okay, and download, get information, and then lead them back to understand this for themselves. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, for me at least, is who, right? So if I change your beliefs about what the world is like and about for example, conflict is bad is a limiting belief. Okay, if I can change your belief about conflict being bad, then you will acquire let's say negotiation skills, and you will engage with your boss in a clearer way and you get a better job, right? If I can change this belief. I can change who you think you are, and this is a really nice quote. The audience you see yourself playing to. So who you are is a composite of the audience you see yourself playing to when you're out and about in the world. Now, the reality is that some of that audience is always going to be Mammy and Daddy. There's no way around that. And some part is going to be any siblings you have. It's always going to be some of that. And some of that's going to be your values from where you're growing up. Some part of you will always have that. Now, I'm a very un-Irish person, but at the core, that's still happening. And so, if you can change two things, who the person sees themselves playing to, you're not playing to your mammy and daddy, you're playing to the best version of yourself, or you're playing to your best friends as a good start, or you're playing to people you respect. That will naturally change your beliefs and your values, what's important to you. You know, if I really fundamentally feel that what I'm doing is just, even if it's God, whatever it is, this will naturally shift all these things. And so finding out who the person sees themselves playing to, how they were perceived when they were a child, how they want to be perceived, all these different things, that's just hugely powerful and it's very accessible to people. So when you learn, so for example, we get to back to the anxiety thing. Someone, when I get anxious, why? Because I feel that conflict is bad. Whenever I get in conflict, I feel small. It's like, okay, when you were a kid, You know, what did your parents think of you? What did your friends think of you? What did you think of yourself? And has it always been the case? Has that changed over time? Do you think, what would it be like in the future? So you can always play with time with this as well. Whenever you get stuck in a conversation, you can just play with time. Go forward. What skills would you need to acquire to become the person you want to? What skills have you acquired in the past? You know, what are the values you would like to hold? What are the ones you hold now? What did you hold in the past? How has that changed? Who were you when you were a child? How did your family see you? How do you see you now? How would you like to be seen? You can move these around as you're engaging with these things. And the last one is, and this is a big one, and I love this shit. What for? And so, for example, I'll give a kind of personal example. This morning when I woke up, I had a coffee, as I always do, which is why I stay in nice hotels, because they have the Nespresso. You just wake up and just roll out, and you go 3, boom, boom, boom. And I was in a super good mood because I know I am. Like yesterday, for example, yesterday was a really nice moment where I felt like really in my flow, and the last 20 minutes in particular was like, okay, I know why I'm here, more or less. And I'm moving towards it constantly, and I feel like I'm embodying that much more than I did in the past, right? So even all this shit, I don't care about that. It doesn't really matter to me so much because that all flows naturally. It's like, boom, boom, we'll do this and that way. I know why I'm here. So all the stuff I understand my identity more or less. And I'm not saying always like that, but at the moment I'm in a pretty good state, and all these things flow from that. And so what you're trying to do, this is right. This is my system. This is what I believe, and you know, it's useful, but maybe not. Is to help someone in the worst case find something to follow. You don't even have to do this shit. If you can help them articulate their mission to themselves in a way that feels meaningful. Like, and the way you can do that is by saying something like, I imagine a world in which, and you have the person finish that sentence. Right? I imagine a world in which one. For me, it's that people are authentic and connected, express themselves, and feel safe to do meaningful things, right? And I think, am I contributing to that world? Yeah, great. Then the other shit is secondary. Or what are you willing to die for? Or what are you alive for? I'm getting those tingles again that I talked about before. That shit matters. And if you can help somebody articulate their life mission or give them the skills necessary at some point in the future to articulate the life mission and then help them start moving towards that, then you're fucking Jesus, you know? Then your life definitely has meaning. And the last thing is that when you think about meaning, I think meaning is hard to come by for a variety of different reasons. But if you're doing something you love in a place that you feel deeply connected for, and you have a reason behind it, you have then you're going to have a meaningful life, even if you can't articulate that rationally. You want to help people, for me, to be doing something that's meaningful to them in a place that they wouldn't rather be anywhere else. Right? And so, I love this system. It's great, really good. It gives you a structure. You don't always have to go here, but to understand, just adding time to this means that you can have amazing conversations very subtly with people. So I'll show you how this works.
Yeah.
We mentioned pacing and leading. Pacing, which I mentioned before, and leading, I think I touched on it a little bit about anchoring, right? Remember we're saying, and as you're lying here, and as you're feeling this, and as. Remember? You're stating someone's reality. And then you lead them, suggesting onto something else, because now you're connected with them and they're more influenceable. So let's say, we'll go down, right? I'm standing at a bus stop, and I see that and I go, hey, what's your name?
Hey, yeah, my name is Aaron. What's your name?
James. I just came from Singapore. I was running a train. I'm super tired. What were you up? Where were you last week?
Last week I was in Thailand. I was at the beach.
Okay. What were you doing in Thailand on the beach?
I was just having my holiday, and I was there with some friends.
Okay. And what kind of things did you do in Thailand on your holiday?
I like to go for diving and also snorkeling.
Oh wow.
It's really nice,
Wow. And how did you learn snorkeling and diving?
As a child, I just learned by myself. I think my dad kind of taught me. I don't remember. I just know how to do it, but I don't remember how to go.
Oh, okay. Wow. Your dad sounds like you had an interesting relationship with your dad. My dad didn't really teach me so much. Has your dad always been supported you in things like this?
Yeah, I think he liked water and these water sports, so somehow he just put it into us as well. But I guess your dad must have done something for you as well, don't you think so?
Yeah, he did. Nice turnaround. He did. I'm just crying on the floor. So family is important for you, or exploring, or curiosity, are these things that are important for you?
Definitely, yeah. Just family is important. The most important people for you.
And what kind of values did your dad teach you when he was teaching you snorkeling and diving? What are the values that are important for you? Do you agree with them?
I do. It's like, do what you like and do it in a relaxed manner and don't stress out. And
Do what you like, do it in a relaxed manner, and don't do it in a stress. That's a beautiful philosophy that you have. What are you doing with your life right now?
I just live here in Beijing. I work in a programming software company, so we're trying to push our product to make money with it and kind of try to retire early.
And when you retire early, how are you going to contribute to this future in which you do this beautiful world that you described? Do what you like. What was it? Do what you like.
In a calm state, no stress.
In a calm state. And is there some way that you're helping people in this? Are you connecting people? Is this part of your life philosophy? Is this a philosophy in action, or is this something holding you back from that?
Well, the thing is, I'm not doing that. I know that I like this, I have to do it. Actually, I worked before in something related to this. But now I'm on this new project, so, I would like to just point into that direction.
Okay, and what's the next step for you? What's the next step to be moving towards that world?
Yeah, that's where my beliefs are. Just have more, let's say monetary stable stability. Yeah.
Okay, boom. Now, thank you. So, what you see is I know it's obviously a staged example, but you can have a very casual conversation with someone, and within 3 minutes, have fuckloads of information about them. So you can go, about your dad, what's interesting, you have some idea about what the limiting beliefs might be, what you're thinking about this, you can feel some frustration. So you have lots and lots of information, you've learned a lot, and you've built a connection. Now normally I would do this a little bit slower, or environment where, what was that like, pacing it here? Okay, and what were the beaches nice, the blue water, and you feel safe? Yeah, it's really blue, it felt really nice. That's great, and what were you doing there? I love the blue water, makes me feel so relaxed. And you're good in the water? Yeah, I'm really good in the water. How'd you get good in the water? Oh, I was just with my dad. Oh wow, sounds like you have a good relationship with your dad. Is family important? Yeah, it's really important. And does your dad always support you? Yes, no. And your mom? Yeah, no. And your brothers ever get jealous of much your dad was, nah. Oh cool, and all this love that you received, it sounds like you're really using it to contribute to the world in some way. And they go, yeah, actually, I am in a way, but there's this thing that's kind of stopping me back. Oh, that's very interesting. And what And you try to get them to move on to, you can get someone to move on to like a next step. Well, I'm just like, I have conversations like this all the time. We go, and what would the next step be, for you to get back on track with that? And you go, oh, this. And then I just leave them. Oh, that's interesting. And you just walk away. Because it's a conversation, a bus stop. But you can see them, they're like, and you're just like planting a little seed, and you walk away. For instance, conversationally. And then a client, you can do this in many different ways. You can take your time, you can build trust, rapport, talking about their environment, where they grew up, especially depending on how open or not open they are. Right? Then you can spend more time. Some people will just go straight to what for is fine, but it's different if I go, hi, what's your name?
Yeah, Peter.
What's the meaning of life, Peter? What the fuck you do, you lazy fuck? Get out there and change the world. Right? And people do it, the uber spiritual people. Who are you? Who am I? Who am I? You're a wanker. That's who you are. You're a wanker. Okay? So the pacing and leading will depend on the person. But this works really well. Now, we're going to split it into pairs and find someone we haven't spoken too much. And one is going to try just lead them through this kind of conversational format. And it's really simple. It's like, where were you? What was the nicest place you were at last year? Or somewhere you found really interesting? What did you do there? And you can just casually talk about that. Oh, and how did you learn that skill? Or how did you do? And then the values or beliefs, like, why is this important to you? Why is that important to you? And oftentimes, guys, people, the fact that you're asking these questions will already blow their fucking minds because no one ever asked any fucking questions and everyone's just waiting for their opportunity to say something. And the fact that you don't use at any point this thing will have the person like, oh, why is this important? Oh my god, you're listening. Normally in conversations like I've seen, I don't mean this not to be sexist, but you see often there's like two girls sitting at a table and one will be like, and the other girl is not listening at all. She's basically like, she's just there as a body, has her phone out, oh yeah, terrible. And then she stops to go, it's like this just ranting thing going on. Men don't do that because we can't sit across from each other because we have to sit like this. But you see that. So just by doing this, just by being genuine, and you're interested because it's interesting to see how fast you can get them up to this, right? You know, whatever they're saying, it's just fun to see. Well, I wonder, like, I try and see if I can do it in a minute, you know? So I get I get life made in a minute, like, ooh, now I'm engaged. And now, the question he asks me a lot is, okay, yeah, but how do you start? How do you start an interaction with someone you don't know? And this is two things. This is conversationally for people you don't know and for clients. But let's say you just want to have more meaningful conversation. How do you start a conversation with somebody that can skip some of these? Do I say, hey, it's that comes down? What can you say?
You make a comment about something that you're both observing, a third point.
Also, very good, very good. You can make it, you can just say, that's weird, isn't it? The Wyndham.
You disclose something about yourself.
Also very good. You disclose something about yourself. Great one. You can say, I just got really scared there. Just some guy walking behind me and I had this moment. You know those moments when you think someone's following you and then you realise you're totally paranoid and they go, yeah. Or they just go, no, what the fuck? You're that guy. Or you can pick something out about that somebody and make an educated guess, right? So you can say, oh, nice bracelet. Do you like jewelry? Or you can say, I noticed you've been sitting like this. Are you into meditation? Right? And they go, what are the options here? They'll say, yes. Yeah, I am into meditation. Or, yeah, I really do like jewelry. That's right. Okay. Or they'll say, no. And what will they say when they say no?
When you say that.
Yeah. They go, why'd you say that? Now, what are you demonstrating with that about yourself?
Paying attention to them.
You're paying attention, you're curious, you're not self-obsessed, right? So you're always just stating, just noticing, that's interesting. Do you like horses? You say anything, it doesn't matter. Right? I bet you like, and just say this, I bet you like horses. And they go, well, a lot of girls like horses, first of all. So they go, I do love horses. Or I say, no, not really, I'm actually allergic to horses. Why would you say that? And you can say whatever you want after that, and then boom, 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 and then you're engaged. And you're already skipping here and say, what do you like? I was all scared of horses. Oh, why are you scared of horses? Oh, because my dad, he took me for a horse when we were smaller and then I fell off the horse and I broke my collarbone. That must have hurt. He didn't like your dad, whatever, you know, family, boom, 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 and you're already identity. So you skip levels. But this is a structure and an idea, right? Where, what, how, why, who, what for. And the what for can be like, you don't have to be so explicit about it. You know, it's like even the things that they find frustrating about the world is an indication of the opposite of what they want. You don't have to be so I imagine a world in which, boom, okay, I'm finding out how they actually contributing to it. Okay? Find someone.
James, sorry,
Yeah,
I videoed quite a lot of that earlier because I want to watch it and reflect. Do you have rules about that? Like deleting it?
No, that's okay. Just don't share. I think I have it here anyway. I do. Boom. Now, what I want you to do, guys,